There is a unique kind of arrogance that takes over when you've been cheating successfully for a long time. You stop seeing your husband as a person and start seeing him as a prop in your own movie. You think you are the director, the star, the mastermind. You believe that as long as you play the part of the loving wife at home, you are invincible. My husband, Arthur, was a corporate acquisitions lawyer. His entire life revolved around contracts, leverage, and reading the fine print. He was calm, methodical, and aggressively polite. My affair partner, Julian, was a commercial real estate broker. We had been sneaking around for 9 months. We met at afternoon hotel bars, took long lunches, and texted constantly. Julian was married too. We both loved the thrill of the secret. We thought we were the smartest people in every room. On a Tuesday morning, Arthur casually mentioned he was hosting a dinner party at our house that Friday. He said he was closing a massive deal with a new firm and the lead broker was coming over with his wife to celebrate. Arthur asked me to go all out. He wanted me to hire a private chef, buy the best wine, and wear the sapphire dress he bought me for our anniversary. I was thrilled. I loved playing the perfect high society wife. It fed my ego. I spent 3 days preparing our home to look like a magazine cover. Friday night arrived. The dining room table was set with crystal and silver. The private chef was preparing filet mignon in the kitchen. I was standing in the foyer in my sapphire dress, holding a glass of champagne, feeling like royalty. At exactly 7 p.m., the doorbell rang. Arthur smiled, smoothed his tie, and opened the door. "Welcome," Arthur said warmly. "We are so thrilled you could make it." I stepped forward to greet our guests with my best hostess smile. But the smile never reached my eyes. It froze instantly on my face, twisting into a mask of pure horror. Standing on my front porch, holding a bottle of wine, was Julian. Next to him was a petite, smiling blonde woman I instantly recognized from the photos on Julian's Facebook page. His wife, Claire. My blood turned to absolute ice. My lungs seized. I couldn't breathe, let alone speak. Julian's face went completely ghostly white. He looked like he had just been electrocuted. He dropped his hand from his wife's waist. The bottle of wine in his grip was shaking so violently I thought he was going to drop it. "Julian, Claire," Arthur said, his voice entirely too cheerful. "Please come in. Have you met my wife, Chloe?" Claire stepped inside, beaming. "No, we haven't," she said, reaching out to shake my hand. "Julian told me he was doing a deal with your husband, but he never mentioned how beautiful his wife was." I took her hand. It felt like grabbing a live wire. I managed a weak, pathetic nod. I looked at Julian. He was staring at the floor, sweating profusely, looking desperately at the open door behind him. "Let's sit," Arthur said, guiding us to the formal dining room. This was the trap. Arthur hadn't confronted me in private where I could cry or make excuses. He had trapped me at a formal dinner table in my own home with a private chef in the next room and my lover's innocent wife sitting right across from me. I was a hostage to my own secret. The first 20 minutes of dinner were sheer psychological torture. Arthur was the perfect host. He poured wine. He asked Claire about her job. Every time Arthur smiled at me, my stomach violently cramped. Then Arthur picked up his wine glass and tapped it with a silver fork. "I'd like to make a toast," Arthur said, the room falling dead silent. "To Julian. When I first looked into Julian's portfolio, I was amazed by his time management. I mean, the man works full-time, maintains a marriage, and still finds time to spend 3 afternoons a week at the Marriott Hotel downtown." Claire laughed politely, sipping her wine. "Oh, Julian doesn't go to the Marriott. His office is on the other side of town." "Is it?" Arthur asked, tilting his head, looking directly at Julian. "Are you sure, Claire? Because I have a very detailed timeline of his visits there." The temperature in the room plummeted. The polite facade evaporated in a single second. Claire's smile vanished as she looked at her husband. Julian was paralyzed. He was literally gripping the edge of the mahogany table, completely speechless. "Arthur, please," I whispered. My voice was shaking so badly I sounded like a child. Don't Don't what, Chloe? Arthur asked, turning his dead, clinical eyes to me. Don't discuss business? But Julian and I have done so much business together. In fact, Julian... Arthur reached into the breast pocket of his suit coat. He pulled out a thick white envelope and tossed it onto the center of the dinner table. It landed right next to the floral centerpiece. I brought the finalized contracts, Arthur said softly. Claire, looking terrified and confused, reached out and opened the envelope. She pulled out a stack of 8x10 glossy photographs. They were photos taken by a private investigator. Photos of me and Julian, kissing in the Marriott parking garage. Photos of us walking into the elevator holding hands. Claire gasped. It was a guttural, heartbroken sound that I will hear in my nightmares for the rest of my life. She dropped the photos like they were on fire. She covered her mouth, sobbing, looking from the photos to her husband to me. You bastard, she choked out. She stood up so fast her chair tipped backward and crashed onto the hardwood floor. She didn't wait for Julian to explain. She ran out of the dining room, the front door slamming heavily behind her. Julian finally stood up. He didn't look at me. He looked at Arthur. I'm going to ruin you for this. Julian spat, trying to salvage any shred of his masculinity. Arthur just laughed. It was a cold, humorless sound. Julian, I own the firm that just bought your brokerage. I am literally your new boss. As of 5 p.m. today, you are unemployed. And looking at your wife's reaction, you're about to be homeless too. Get out of my house. Julian opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. He looked at me one last time. Not with love, but with absolute resentment. He turned and practically ran out the front door. I sat alone at the table with Arthur. The private chef was completely silent in the kitchen. I was crying uncontrollably, my expensive sapphire dress suddenly feeling like a straitjacket. Arthur calmly picked up his fork and cut a piece of his steak. He took a bite, chewed slowly, and dabbed his mouth with a linen napkin. The chef really outdid himself, Arthur said quietly. He looked across the table at me, his eyes entirely devoid of emotion. Your bags are packed in the garage. The chef made enough for 2 so you can take a to-go box with you, but you need to be off my property in 10 minutes. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. He had completely decimated my life in under an hour, without ever raising his voice.